Hello and welcome to the Final Cut Half Cut with me, Jason Winter, and my good pal Nick. What's up, Nick?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah,
I'm surviving.
Yeah.
Struggling, taking it a day at a time.
more low energy today than I expected. I was expecting I was expecting like a wrestler coming up.
No.
If you were to be a wrestler, what would what would be your vibe? What would be?
I've actually. Oh, that's a very good
your
question.
Character.
Weirdly, we've not talked about this, but I've actually got a lot of stuff about this written down.
Go on.
I had an idea for like having one show, like one fight, and that being also my retirement match.
Oh wow!
So I like come
debut
down,
and
retirement. I've got a really good idea. So they come down, they film it all, take pictures,
right?
And the moment they squash match, I get done in like a minute,
right?
And then hit 1, 2, 3.
Is that a
that's a wrestling term. It's like when you get done, like guys really quick, proper jobber gets done like real quick.
Right.
And the moment I lose, like the guy gets a mic and goes like, "We're all here to celebrate the career of this
like
man."
The last season
like
of
all the
wrestling,
wrestlers come out and applaud me,
it's
all that shit, and it's like a proper like everyone's like, "Who the fuck is this guy? Who is this guy?" Yeah. And they show like this is some of your best bits, and they just replay the entire match like beginning to end
in real time.
Yeah, and that was I've always wanted to do that. But I've not been able to like get a wrestler. But I love wrestling. I've got loads of like.
I think we covered this before, but I did not acquire a natural affinity to it. I didn't gravitate towards wrestling for some reason as a child.
Well, to fair neither did I. I only got into wrestling. It's okay to be in wrestling as a kid, but I got into wrestling when I was like 19, which is far too old to get into wrestling. You know what I mean?
I mean, my thing about wrestling is the same reason I don't like musicals. Is that I find the emotional reality of the situation of why they've got beef with someone, right? If you're then going to go off into a full song with like full production, you've lost me. Similarly, just music, I find wrestling to be like the action equivalent of musical.
No, but you're getting confused because like when the show ends, the musical ends. Right. When wrestling ends, the wrestling continues. Why do you think Chris Benoit cripple across face his wife and child to death? Because he was still in wrestling mode.
I've heard about that fucking story. That's controversial.
When he flying headbutted his wife from the top rope.
Didn't he shoot them?
He might have.
He murdered them brutally. And
it was awful. It was a tragedy.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Don't need to know much about wrestling to know that that's not cool, folks.
But
that's just roids.
He was so good. Chris Benoit was so good.
Please, right. We're not here to talk about wrestling today.
I'm here to talk about it. I can talk about wrestling for hours.
You are, but I'm cutting the wrestling conversation short because today we're always so controversial, Nick.
I love wrestling. I can't help it.
No,
that's the controversial part you're talking about. Like, liking wrestling's controversial, Nick.
No, the controversial part is the guy who murdered his family.
Rest in peace, Chris Benoit.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah, his family, but rest in peace. That was a terrible tragedy. The reason why I bring wrestling up to you, Nick, is for the start of today's topical film of what we're covering, Highlander, fucking best film of all time, apart from RoboCop.
Yeah.
It starts with a man watching a wrestling match.
You're kind of skipping the ball here because what we need to talk about that's how casual I am in appearance right now.
Yeah.
I've gotten off your
folks.
I've gotten off your couch and I'm just laying on your floor.
You look like
someone needs to paint me like one of their French girls.
Who's that guy? Who did Magnum PI? He was in Friends.
Selleck? Yeah,
Tom Selleck, naked, oiled up, right? In front of a roaring fire. That's what Nick looks like right now. Yeah. All man.
Male.
Yes.
Testosterone.
Yes.
Alpha.
That's how you identify.
Banging dudes.
Or you're allowed on the boat last on the Titanic.
Yeah.
Don't assume his gender. So, all right.
Well, because
take the reins, Nick.
No, because we'll talk about like the basic outline because why are we here? We're here to watch Highlander.
Yeah.
But why do we have to watch Highlander?
Because Highlander's one of the greatest cult classics of all time. And I basically like it, so...
Strongly disagree.
You don't think it's one of the greatest cult classics of all time?
I watched this like 2 weeks ago for the first time. I watched the sequels before I watched the first one.
Right, okay.
And I don't think it's good.
You don't think Highlander's good?
No, I had a smile on my face the entire time I watched it.
Right.
I thought it was proper cheesy.
There's no other film soundtracked by Queen. That
Bohemian Rhapsody. Boom!
Was that... What, is that whole film?
Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody, the film, starring Rami Malek. It won an Oscar.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, that's...
That counts. That still counts. That was done all by Queen.
But Highlander's better.
Highlander is better than Bohemian Rhapsody because that's a terrible film.
Yeah. Right, so, just before we get into the plot, you don't like Highlander?
No, I enjoyed...
You liked it, but you thought it was bad?
I think it is a bad film that I quite enjoyed.
I think it's dated. I think
it's very dated. The moment I watched it...
It's got the same Indiana Jones thing with the graphics at the end and all that. Like that,
yeah.
That whole... I don't know, it's called... I can't remember what the technique's called, but like that whole cartoon special effects thing at the end is... It was rubbish in Indiana Jones and it's rubbish in this film.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think, before we get into it too much, that this film is groundbreaking. I can't remember any other action... sci-fi fantasy film that covers 500 years. Like it's got unique aspects to its conception and stuff that as a story I like, but I think we have an interesting way of
it's a great like concept. It's a really good concept.
Yeah, but obviously what I mean is when we like sort of reviewed these things, I've got you to watch some of my most beloved things from my childhood, like because I saw that film when I was like 11, it blew me away. But when you're 11, everything's good.
Oh, and this is a film where if I saw it when I was young, I'd love this film. Yeah, but I didn't catch it. I didn't get into it.
My dad showed me this film, and I went, "That's a fucking action film. That's how you tell a story." And I love the story. I think that it's unique in its sense of scale. It's so like, ambitious.
It's got a great scale for such a like kind of cheap film. It's like in the way like.
It's not breaking the budget. Yeah, they didn't spend
it's
millions and millions.
I think it was like 15 million.
Yeah, it's like an average.
But in terms of like films that like aren't good necessarily, but I enjoy like The Warriors.
Yeah,
The Warriors looks so obviously of its time.
Yeah,
and it's not really a good film. Like the fighting is awful. Like it's proper like swinging people, ducking as well.
Yeah.
But I really like that film because I watched it when I was really young.
Well,
so
that
it's
is the definition of a cult classic.
Yeah, like
that is the one of the big daddies of what you would call that. But I mean. Highlander to me is probably the like things like the Warriors and stuff in terms of pop culture. You know, you could say the same about the Goonies. It's like those kind of Americana films that are just in the lexicon of film. But in terms of action, it's not fantasy, but it's not science fiction either. I don't know what you class it
civilian
as.
Fantasy. Like it is very.
It's not magic, but it's ostensibly.
It's kind of like this. It's like kind of. Camp, I guess, in a way, like the way it's like this won't happen. It's very fictional, but it's in the background of reality.
Yeah,
where it's like kids aren't going to find a hidden pirate ship under the cave.
No. But it's sort of it's got that hero's journey thing of the same things that you need. You know,
there's definitely a name for this shit, but like, I can't think of it.
It is the hero's journey in terms of the tropes. So, like for instance, with Star Wars, you've got Obi-Wan who's got to train.
Yeah. Luke
Skywalker.
Did you forget Luke Skywalker's
I
name?
was just about to go Mark Hamill's character. That's how much I'm not a Star Wars fan. I can't fucking remember Luke Skywalker's name. No, I think Star Wars is fine. But I'm just saying, like, all these tropes are, like, universal. And so, I just liked the balance of what it does. I mean, it's quite a misogynistic film as well. It's it doesn't...
Highlander?
Yeah, it doesn't really do... I mean, apart from the female journalist and thing... I think we're ranting already, aren't we?
No, I think it's fine because, like, yeah, we rant all the time. But I wouldn't say, as far as like 80s films, I wouldn't say it's misogynistic. It's more just they don't give them much of a character.
No, yeah.
Like there are way worse films for like women roles
because like this,
she's at least she doesn't become like a damsel in distress by the end, but she does have like she's at the beginning she's kind of like the main story protagonist in the way that she's keeping the plot forward. Like she's the reason we're finding out.
Why we find out the details.
But like,
she's
but then she does. But then
eventually
does become like, oh no, she needs to be saved.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that happens at the very end, which we will talk about at the very end.
At the very end, because the beginning of Highlander starts.
Well, because it starts. So the beginning of the film, it begins in New York, in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, bosh.
And I only know that because they say it's in Madison Square Garden because we are watching the Freebirds.
Oh, he's got his wrestling.
My wrestling shit on.
Go on. Let's do
go against. I can't remember all the guys going against. I know one of them's Kid Tonga.
I saw a fat blonde guy throw a fat
That was on the Freebirds. That was probably on the Freebirds.
In leotards. And I went, this is wrestling.
It's wrestling.
And I don't care.
Wrestling.
No, I mean, yeah.
But we're introduced to our main character, Connor McLeod.
Connor McLeod.
Which, okay, so bear with me.
We don't know anything about him. We just see watching the wrestling and he goes down to the car park and you're like, what's he up to?
Yeah.
And out boshes a samurai sword and you're like, hang on a minute.
Well, it's really weird because he eventually... We actually find out this guy's immortal and he's been immortal for this many years. It's been like, what, 500 years or something, I think it says?
500 years, yeah.
And the guy he fights is also immortal.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, so at least one of these immortal warriors is like really into wrestling?
Right.
Because obviously one of them is there to follow the other one.
Well... So what are you talking
at the very
about?
least, listen, either both of them are into wrestling and they just happen to be there at the same time, or one of them followed another one to the wrestling show.
No, because the Highlander is a bit like Star Wars in the sense that So without going through every plot point, so the point of which is, so there are these immortal beings that discover that they're different to other humans and they have been put there for the time of the gathering, and then what you have is the quickening. So they feel the quickening when they murder another, when they lock the head off another immortal, and then the quickening...
Well, no, because they feel they're aware that there is other immortals around them.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like so. It's a force. It's a force. The quickening. It's a sense.
Yeah, the quickening is when they kill them, but they can feel something.
I'm saying that there is no evidence to suggest anyone is a fan of wrestling in this film, and I would suggest to our listeners or our audience
that no one should be a fan of wrestling.
No one should be a fan of wrestling.
No, I do think that at least one of these people is a fan of wrestling.
I don't agree.
No, because he wouldn't. If one of them wasn't a fan of wrestling, my theory is that Connor's into wrestling. Because if he just because he wouldn't have been like watching it, because you kind of get the vibe like he's like, I've got to leave.
To meet there. I'm not
saying that. I'm not saying. No, but it's like because the guy ambushes him in the thing, so they both knew they were there, which means probably one. No, if they didn't plan on meeting there, then they were both into wrestling.
No. I'm saying that the opposite is true. That the wrestling doesn't matter. It could be any large scale event. They could have been watching like Queen live.
Yeah, but that means they were at a Queen show to watch Queen.
But they don't like Queen. They just know that they're just drawn to each other. It's like magnets. I don't think there's any thought to it. I think it's a physiological thing.
Yeah, but you wouldn't get a ticket
through time.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have sat down to watch.
No, fair
They'd have
enough.
just waited.
Yeah.
They'd have just waited for a guy.
It's a good point.
I think at least one of them is into wrestling. And I just like the idea that possibly 1,000-year-old immortal warrior is like, I've got to see if Hulkamania runs wild. I've got to see who gets the title.
Imagine being able to kill anyone that stands before you and then watching some fake fat wankers throw each other around.
Exactly. That's beautiful.
It's disgraceful. It's like being David Bowie and being into musicals. It doesn't work for me. I'm just saying.
He loved musicals.
Alright, fuck you. Right.
Fine. Because they're at Madison Square Garden.
The start of the film, he's at Madison Square Garden.
So he's at Madison Square Garden, and then he goes down to the car park where he meets a guy.
They have a bit of a row.
I think his name's Imad.
I can't remember.
I want to say he's Imad.
I was trying to think of that, but it doesn't matter.
But they have a fight.
A sword fight. Fight with swords.
An incredibly 80s fight.
Mm-hmm.
It is there is not
rubbish.
There's no good choreography.
Yeah.
But one thing I did notice.
Twing, twing.
There's one thing I did notice that really made me chuckle.
Go on.
Is at one point the other guy like disarms Connor.
Yeah. And
he starts backflipping for no reason.
Oh yeah.
And then it cuts to Connor looking for his sword. And then it cuts back to the other guy and he's like looking for him.
Yeah.
Like, where's Connor? Then it cuts back. Connor's still looking for a sword. Then it cuts back to the guy and he's doing more backflips. Like needless backflips. Like what advantage does this give you? I don't know why in films they're going like, I'm in a fight, I'm going to backflip away.
I think it's a trope to show like
athleticism,
physical.
Yeah, I know, but I've always
like that they are more powerful than humans. Like because normal humans can't do it. It's a cheap athletic gag, if you like.
Yeah, no, but I love that whole thing where it's like it cuts back,
so
backflipping, no backflipping, more backflipping.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Yeah, stupid. Okay, so we know that Connor McLeod murders the first opponent in that, and then I believe we then get the cut sequence to the.
Well, no, because at that point he has the quickening where everything just goes to shit around him, where the electricity's going.
Oh
and
yeah, sorry, no, we need to cover that, and all the cars
Yeah.
are bouncing up and down, and so that's when we get the first look at the point of Highlander being that there are a small number of these immortal humans that are walking among us that spend hundreds of years waiting to be drawn to the gathering, the quickening, which is that there can be only one. But essentially it's taken loads of time, and then we don't really know what's going on. They've had a fight and some guys died, right? So if you've never seen the film, you don't know what it's about. If you've read no marketing, you're not a fan of it at all. This guy's just murdered this other guy by chopping his head off, and the only way that these immortals can kill other immortals is by cutting their head off. Then there's this moment of all of this power, all the cars get lit up, all the lights start fucking going, all of this stuff, and it's like they then get consumed by this energy force being taken from the other guy into them, so they absorb all of their life force in a very physical way that they show off it's pretty tacky in an 80s
Yeah, it's
film.
very like
even the end, even the graphic. I know it's a trope of our podcast to bitch about all of the special effects, but it is quite dated in that sense.
Well, I would say because it is all physical, I'm gonna give it a lot of credit because like there's no really bad
the
CG.
cars and the lights and that, they're fine, but like I wouldn't have had the cars bounce up and down like that. I don't know.
Well, I feel like that's just hydraulics, like
going
crazy,
but
and like, I don't mind any of that because I'm like it's not like a skull, a skeleton climbing out of
okay, it's not the same, but okay. So then that happens, and he gets
arrested by the police. He gets arrested by the police, and
lots of different places.
Which one thing I do appreciate, because it's the main character is Christopher Lambert.
Christopher Lambert, yeah, famous for being like
Highlander,
Canadian. Or...
Yeah, most Canadians.
Yeah, and then he's trying to do a Scottish accent.
But one thing I do appreciate is because later on there are people not trying with accents,
right?
At all.
Wait, were you sure?
Later on, they are not trying with their Spanish accent.
Oh yes.
But he's like, at this point, he's trying quite hard to have like an accent.
He's very believable.
Yeah, he's got an accent where it's like, I don't know where you're from.
Yeah.
Which I do appreciate because he could have just had like a normal accent, like a Canadian accent, and been like, oh no, but he's got like an accent where it's like, I have no idea what you sound European. At best, I think you're from Europe. Which I do like. It's like because there are people who do not try.
He did a good job on the accent. I think he does.
Yeah,
sound like
he's got a weird. I don't know what the fuck that is. He does it very well.
I thought that was quite.
Yeah, because he gets arrested. They got no evidence on him. All they know is that he was there at the time. And then we're introduced to the love interest of the film because she's not a pathologist, and she's not a crime.
No, she's not directly a police officer. She's someone that's that knows about swords and antiquities, and she's like an academic. Yeah,
because they find like some priceless sword.
Yeah. So the thing about the sword is that so that to her, for her research, is that basically the sword would not exist according to historical records.
Well, no, because they find the sword of the guy, and it's like some saber that is really, and then
and this is like 1,000 years before Japanese.
Yeah, because that's his sword. They find the like scrapes.
And so that's why she's so interested in what's going on, is because this would be like the holy grail of discoveries in her particular field, which is the reason why she's apparently so motivated to chase these things. Apart from the fact that maybe these immortal geezers like are quite interesting, and maybe there's something going on there. But so we have that moment. We have the setup essentially there, and then we have this epic story. Something that the reason why I love it, going back to sort of the nostalgic reasons why we've not had the same opinion on these films, is that I think I've watched it when I was like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever as like a kid, and you'll watch it back as an adult going, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, and I respect that.
Oh yeah, well I do like this film. I just don't think it's a particularly good one.
There is something about this particular film that I think I don't know of any other story that can tell a story that is 500 years in the making. The guy's character, so it starts off, Conor McLeod is part of the Highland clan, and so that's why he's from the Highlander.
It's the McLeod clan, isn't it?
Yeah, McLeod clan, and he's a Highlander because they come from the Highlands. Yeah. And so we are introduced to this village setting. He's got a wife, and he's going to battle. And very, very quickly, they're just, it just sends you into battle, and there's the Kurgan. There's this...
Well, I do like that one about the same way. It's like, no one's fighting me. Why is no one fighting me? Because he's like, what? It's like I understand that. It's like when you're at a school dance and everyone else is dancing, and you're like, why is no one dancing with me?
That's an interesting point. I mean, I think
because he's just like desperately trying to fight people, and they're like, no, thank you. No. And I'm like,
and I felt think that's part of the element of there's a religious context to this story. There is like a sort of, it plays on religious beliefs in the sense that it does things in a very ephemeral way. It doesn't, it's not like Marvel where it's like, you got this spider that bit you. There's this, it's an unknowable force. It's an unknowable energy in the same way that we disagree about how those immortals are drawn together at the end. Like you say, they're wrestling.
Oh no,
I say
no, it is a gathering.
This energy that draws.
I do like how they never explain. In this film at least, they don't explain why everyone's mortal. It's just something that happens every now and then, which I do quite like.
No, I like that. No, I think it's more powerful for that reason.
Sometimes I don't want to. It's like we've talked about Star Wars. Like I don't need to know what the Force is.
Yeah.
And then they explain it's like midichlorians, and you're like, it's like you've kind of you've ruined a lot of the mystery from it. I don't need that. Who's
fucking Santa Claus ain't real.
It's like
I want the magic to just be there. Let the imagination and the what do they call it in comedy? Phenomenology. So Frankie Boyle. So Frankie Boyle does this thing about...
Keep talking, I'm getting beer.
That's alright, mate. So he talks about this idea of phenomenology, whereby the joke doesn't take place when he says it. The joke takes place in your head. So basically, all these things, when you're suspending reality, you're suspending the belief, if you like, in order to... make the audience believe in what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Then it's I don't know. It's an interesting concept to me because I think Highlander does that very well. And with the energy of the journey of the story of the hero, Conor McLeod's there and no one will fight him. But there's no reason why they. Do you know what I mean? In a physical sense, if you're in battle, why?
Well, they do explain because we're introduced to the Kurgan.
The Kurgan tells
the Kurgan's like, this kid's mine. This kid's mine. Because we're introduced to the Kurgan, who's the main antagonist. Not main antagonist. He's the only antagonist of this film.
He is the antagonist of the film, and he is he is told to us to be the strongest of all the immortals. He's physically massive.
Well, yeah, because he does in the first meeting. He does Connor in two. He just stabs him and it's done. He would have killed him, away. But then Connor's like, boys,
of course,
carry him off, get him away. And the Kurgan is played by Clancy Brown, who is the voice of Mr. Krabs. Which means I'm watching Mr. Krabs just go fucking ham on these fucking people. It's like of all the people, he's like, you're the Kurgan, bruv. Good for you.
But that's how he made his name. And that role, literally, is it's an iconic film. I know it's got its problems, but in terms of a science fiction fantasy film that it didn't become a massive franchise. It is just, me personally, it is one of my favourites.
No, I would say this, along with, I'd say The Thing is a much bigger example of it, but it's one of them, films that is, it's a guaranteed, pop culture, if you reference it in a TV show or film, people, a lot of people be like, I get that and I respect that.
Yeah.
Because it's if you reference, oh, look, it's 12 Angry Men, it's why are you referencing that film? Who cares about that?
Yeah.
But if you reference Highlander as a group of very lonely men that are going like, fuck yes, Highlander.
Yeah.
Like, if you say in a film, there can be only one, there's going to be a bunch of people that are going like, I get that, I understand that reference.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if someone says cheating bitch, everyone's like, oh, that's the thing. That's what he says in the thing.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like a very, like, if there was like a tier list of like cult films, Highlander would be A, maybe S.
Yeah.
Maybe S too.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah.
So at that point, it's quite an important plot point because obviously he gets done by the Kurgan straight away. Then he's carried off. We see him lying down, and they go, "Yeah, he's gonna be dead by the morning. Say goodbye."
But then he fucking lives.
And then he fucking lives. Bowls
and
into
everyone
the
thinks
pub,
he's a demon.
And then they're instantly like, "This is the devil's work," instead of being like, "It's a miracle." Which I found that the biggest.
I could see,
the film.
like, if someone gets like proper done, they don't have penicillin at this point.
No.
And if he's like, because it's not like he's like, oh, I'm alright. It's like next day he's like walking around, like
mate,
he's like dapping people up. He's like, what's bracking?
I would have pretended.
Yeah, but he doesn't. He's like, so what we doing tonight, lads? Yeah. And they're like, it's the devil, and he's like, oh, come on, don't be a dick. I'm not. It's not the devil. It's me, Connor, your boy.
You know what I fucking didn't like about that? My what I was thinking about, like thinking back, because I'd forgotten that. I thought his wife followed him with him.
No, he remarries.
Yeah, so basically what happens is he comes back to life overnight. Then his wife is the one who instigated, like, no, fuck him.
Were they married or was it like
engaged?
I don't know.
I assume they would, like, I don't know. It's not an important thing. I would say that given that time that they probably were married, but so they banish him, and the big ginger geezer like lets him run off.
Yeah, he's one of it because he's got like two friends, and one of them's like proper like you're saying. One of them's like,
that's your cousin, man.
It's like don't put me in the situation, Con.
Yeah,
come on, Con.
Yeah, and so he gets banished, and then we're back to modern day. We're back to modern day, and he's trying to sort of sidestep the authorities.
He's not even trying to sidestep him because at that point they don't have any information.
No,
they know he was there, but they don't care.
But then we have the Kurgan rock up again.
No, because he's at the bar, and the woman is trying to she finds out who he is, and she's trying to find out information about it, and then he does like the worst like hit on attempt I've ever seen in my life.
Can I walk her home?
Yeah, it's like, come on, bro. Especially with that accent.
Basically just said you're going to rape her.
Especially with that accent.
Don't do that. Like, what music are you into? Just say anything. Don't just be like, I'm going to walk up to you and
do you like
can
stuff?
I walk you home?
Do you like stuff? It's like, he's a proper bad attempt at hitting her.
Really bad, yeah.
And then, does she follow him or does he follow her?
She follows her.
No, she follows him.
And then they have a row with the Kurgan.
And then they meet the Kurgan, because at this point the Kurgan... We missed the part where the Kurgan goes to the hotel room and gets a prostitute.
Yeah. No, that's later on. The first thing we see is just him rocking up and he just gets his sword out and he fucks off, and then we have.
So it's fight.
Then we have the moment that's hilarious with the Kurgan when the prostitute comes on.
Yeah, it's Candy.
She goes, Candy. She goes, "Hi, I'm Candy." He goes, "Yes, of course you are." It's just I really enjoy doing the voice.
Yeah, it's fun.
So he finds it. He tracks him down. They have a row, and then he's like, "Next time, McLeod."
Yeah, because the police like intervening.
They rock up with a helicopter, and so they all go their separate ways. Then I believe we go back to 15th century Scotland, whereby we're introduced to a certain character. So Conor McLeod is remarried or got a new girlfriend.
Yeah, he's with Heather. He's with Heather.
Blossom. And I really liked her. Like that is the emotional heart of the film. This next the middle act is it gets
because the first flashback was like maybe 5 minutes long. This is actually quite a big flashback. It's quite a long
it's about 15,
flashback.
20 minutes.
Yeah, where we're introduced to the world's most Scottish Egyptian.
Yeah, Sean Connery. Hey.
Who I appreciated. I appreciated Lambert trying to hide his accent, make an accent. I also really appreciate Sean Connery not giving a shit.
Well, this is not the first time that Sean Connery has done this.
He don't do accents. You're getting Sean Connery.
Anything. Do you know that I don't think James Bond is even supposed to be Scottish, is he?
I think James Bond's supposed to be British. I don't think they specify where he's from.
But he didn't fucking change it. I've seen.
I would allow it purely because he was the first. So
Yeah.
if he was like the fourth.
Yeah, but can you imagine today coming? Alright there, Paul, I'm James Bond. James Bond, give me a fucking white lightning and take me down the fucking park. Like, do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, it doesn't work. It does work because it's Sean Connery. But at the end of the day, Sean Connery is just Sean Connery.
Has it stopped recording?
No, we're good.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah.
We can leave that in.
Yeah.
We're just checking shit.
Yeah,
it's all
we're just
There's a brief sign.
This is just a production
But
value.
there's because it's not like they will. If they wanted someone to do an accent, they'd have got replaced. Because they'd be like, Sean Connery, can you do an accent? No. Okay, well we're gonna keep you.
He's the star of the film. Like Christopher Lambert wasn't known. I mean, he's known purely for Highlander.
It's Sean fucking Connery.
Exactly. So Sean Connery can do whatever.
So he's a Egyptian.
Yep.
Originally,
he's
an
2,000
Egyptian.
years old.
He's originally an Egyptian.
500 years ago.
Yeah. Who was who's Spanish.
Yeah.
He's got a Japanese sword.
Yeah.
And he works for the King of England in Scotland, I believe it is.
Something like that, yeah.
But he's got an incredibly thick Scottish accent.
He's got his
and I'm
fingers
assuming
in a lot
that
of pies, Nick.
But his thing's like, if he was like, oh, I've been living in Scotland for the last 150 years. But it sounds like to him, he's like, oh, I've been in Scotland for like 10 years.
Yeah, he's just dossing about wherever.
Yeah, it's like, he's not like trying to like put on like, oh, this isn't my real accent.
How do we know the Egyptian accent 2,500 years ago didn't sound
they definitely weren't white.
From fucking
They definitely weren't white, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, but maybe they're like, hey, Paul, like, sort them fucking pyramids out. Do you know what I mean? Sphinx what?
Possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Papyrus. The Nile.
But
sorry.
So I think his name Ricardo.
His name hang on.
I think whatever it is, he starts for some. He's like, I want a friend. I've been alive for like this month, like 1,000 years, and he also encourages him to leave his wife.
Does he?
Well, yeah, because he's
because
he's like, I've seen so many loved ones die.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
better for both
and
of you.
That's what do you call it? His name is. Oh, for fuck's sake!
Is it Rodriguez?
Come back to me. Juan Sanchez. Hang on. His name. Oh, for fuck's sake! I just want to know the name.
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery plays Sean. He's playing Sean Connery.
Sean Connery is the classic, like, you've got people like Nicolas Cage, you've got Keanu Reeves. Sean Connery was the originator.
The big three.
That big. Like, that bigger
I'm playing myself. You're getting me for me.
Every single... Yeah, you're hiring me for me. And that's what he does. Michael Caine does it as well. Like, and that's... I don't think
it would be weird if he did. It'd be really weird if he did try and put on an accent.
How could he do that? He couldn't. He's not capable.
It's obnoxiously thick, his accent.
Yeah.
If he tried to put on a Spanish accent, I wouldn't understand it.
Do you know that would be offensive?
Yeah, it would be racist. It would be very racist for Sean Connery. So good for you, Sean Connery.
Yeah, I think the film is better.
It is definitely part. It's definitely part of its charm is that he's not trying.
Yeah, and that it is just Sean Connery in this ridiculous role, and also Sean Connery has that charm, that ability to also make you believe that
maybe he could be. Maybe that could be an Egyptian man who's been. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's because he has that star quality, and I think that's what lifts the film in that midpoint. And then obviously we have the minutiae of his love interest. Not his love interest, sorry, Colin McLeod's love interest, Heather, and...
No, because he's got multiple love interests, doesn't he?
Yeah, this showdown with the Kurgan. What I like about it is this ability for a character to be in love with multiple people throughout time. It's a humanist story. It's not a fantastical superhero story.
Well, that's because later on there are scenes where you show that he's still very much attached to Heather.
Of course.
Because there's a scene in church where he lights a candle, because she says light a candle for me, and then he lights a candle for her.
Yeah. And so right. So we're getting to the difficult point about the film, which is probably the emotional low point, where the Kurgan rocks up. For some reason...
Are we talking about the church?
No, before that.
Oh, fair.
So Connor isn't there, and it's Sean Connery and
the fight. Yeah.
And then Sean Connery gets murked, and then it's implied, and then said later on in the church, that the Kurgan raped his wife. And I've never watched a action film where rape is used as a plot point.
Well,
it's pretty brutal in that respect. And then she gets older and she dies, and he never knows. And then we get to the church point. But fuck me, like as an emotional turmoil, like someone that watched that young, and we've got to just quickly. I know we've gone through it.
We can talk about the music, but you need to talk about
the music. Is the reason why who wants to live forever, like the Queen soundtrack and the use of synth in this film with classical orchestral music does underscore a very emotional, like as me that likes cathartic films, that likes the hero having to save the world and get the girl, like his girlfriend died, his love got raped and died through time, like, and he doesn't have any control over it. All he has is control over whether or not he can fight this adversary and put his anger into that. And that's what spoke to me as a young man, is that the music is definitely very powerful to me as someone in a mainstream sense that saw this film and went, fucking hell, they did this like naturalistically. But like the music's turned up to 11. You've got all the raw guitar in the soundtrack, and then you've got these classic Queen songs that became very popular out of launching through the film, but they're embedded in the film in a way that I just find iconic. Like I genuinely, like I know you have problems with it watching it now, but as someone that's grown up with it, like I fucking love it, mate. I just. Really do.
It's also like one of the few times I can think where like a slogan of an entire film franchise is done by the villain.
Yeah.
Because there can be only one. That is Kurgan about to kill Sean Connery. Like he says it. And it's like usually it's like not necessarily the hero, but it's like someone else. But it's like that's his like thing.
Yeah.
It's like there can be only one. Is the Kurgan.
Well, it's interesting how they use the same line so economically, because they use it. So Sean Connery says it. And the Kurgan says it. So when they're saying it to someone that isn't an adversary, like so Sean Connery's character trains MacLeod, and that's an important part of the film, is that, you know, he's there to help. And that's an interesting point, is that like the unspoken energy, the force of whatever the quickening and the gathering is, the fact that there can be only one, yet here's this immortal training this other immortal because perhaps it's destined that this particular... the idea of destiny
I kind
is
of view that
about.
Because Sean Connery says like Sean Connery's aware of the Kurgan.
Yeah.
I always kind of saw that as like if one of us has to win it, I'd rather it one of us as opposed to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Also at that point he's already said like I've lost a lot of family and friends, and if we make a connection that lasts for like 500 years,
exactly. Yeah,
I'd be cool with that. Like, I'm gonna have to coup at some point, but I'd rather be chilling out before.
Yeah, just to say, in case you don't know about Highlander, the Highlander, no immortal can have children if they are immortal and stuff like that. So that's an interesting thing. Like, there's a tragic sort of element that all the women that he has been with throughout time, he cannot have children with. He can't settle down. He can't move beyond his destiny. In that sense, is that he's immortal. He can live for as long as he fucking likes, but he's got to do this thing. It's like it's his obligation. So it's all of these. You know what I mean? You could live it up as much as you want, but it doesn't really matter, because if you've got that emotional sense of I can't ever connect with someone, then what does fucking life really mean? Like, it's quite an interesting philosophical kind of. It's not the same as like Captain America, or like, Captain America actually went through time. Like, do you know what I mean? The classic if you're Superman, you're not really like. That's not the focus of the story. Whereas it does explain those. It does come from a humanist perspective of what it would be like to live throughout time and stuff like that. So, yeah, and also, it's the only fucking film soundtrack by Queen apart from
Bohemian
Rhapsody, which is shit.
You're goddamn right.
I haven't seen it, but I
editing's
can't
awful.
be fucking bothered with
Terrible editing.
I just can't stand the postmodern, like particularly the Elton John one. No, I know we're going on a tangent now, but particularly the Elton John one. You're still alive, Elton John. Stop trying to make money off of yourself. You already fucking a billionaire, basically. Just go fuck yourself, Elton John, please. But anyway, fucking, like, I don't mind you, John. I'm still standing, probably, like, my favourite. But don't try and fucking rinse me for your dollar when you're still alive, mate. Like, you don't need it. You're clearly already very wealthy. Anyway, Highlander, best Queen soundtrack film ever. It adds to it because of that. And then we get to this kind of like, we're about midway, so
well, because we also get introduced to McLeod's secretary, who is very clearly in love with him, despite basically being his adopted daughter. Yes, because he saved her from Nazis.
Yes, but I found that to be one of the most interesting.
I would have loved to learn more about that sort of like the idea of someone like an immortal raising a kid. Yeah. I think they could have gone more into depth with that, but they just chose not to, because near the end he says like, you are the heir of my entire fortune, because at that point he's got fucking loads of money. He's got like all these fucking relics of the past.
Yeah, so he's an antiques dealer, we should say, in modern New York, and so he saves. We have this cut sequence towards the end of the film where he saves this young girl. In Nazi Germany during World War II.
He does like a pun before he kills a Nazi, I'm pretty sure, as well, which seems kind of ill-fitting.
Why? Why is it wrong to rip Nazis?
No, I'm cool with that. I mean, like, he's a Nazi trying to kill a Jew. I mean, like, you can't do a pun.
He says something like he says something about...
Here's like a one-liner. Here's a one-liner.
I know what he says. He goes, you're really the master race. Because he's immortal, so it's brilliant that an actual immortal is killing a Nazi. Actually, I did completely disagree with you. I think it's a fucking brilliant line, because he's like, so you're the master race then? And it's like, he's mugging him off, because I just feel like
doing a one-liner where, like, minutes ago there were references to the Holocaust.
No,
it's a bit weird.
I think it's the other... I think it works. I think it works very well. But I found that part of the film to add a level of depth and
humanity,
emotional resonance, and humanity. That was I really did
that
go,
entire like
right, this bangs now.
That was probably my favourite part. Was the idea of like him raising. I did really like that. That was my favourite part.
It's very rich, and that's what I want to impress upon why I find this film to be different and better than a lot of its contemporaries, is that it's got so many good ideas done pretty well. Okay, it's dated with Sean Connery's acting, it's dated with the special effects, but it is so ambitious and interesting, and it doesn't go on for 3 hours about it. Do you know what I mean? No. It bangs, and it does so many things in the moment that I know that there are, for instance, I'll sit here all day and say that I prefer the massiveness of Terminator 2 or the Matrix or whatever. Like, do I know that they're more sophisticated and cooler franchises? Yes, but there's not been a film ever that has done the things that Highlander has done, has been so ambitious and interesting in all of the things that he's brought together to tell a story. And I genuinely can't, there is nothing that compares to it. Regardless of how you rate it, comparably, there is nothing quite as interesting as Highlander that I know of. Like RoboCop with its like corporate America, like its satire. But Highlander just tells this epic story, like in such a concise and beautiful way. Like that is my genuine take on it, and I will fight you to death.
I like Highlander. I don't know where you've got that. I like Highlander.
Alright, you said that Highlander was a bad film.
Yeah, it's a bad film. It's a bad film.
It's not a bad film. Why is it a bad film?
It's objectively bad.
Why is it objectively bad?
The acting isn't great.
Right.
The effects aren't great. The writing could be better.
The writing's quite good. You couldn't have this complex story without the writing.
The choreography could be so much better.
Yeah. Alright, fine.
Like, there are Terminator came out 2 years beforehand. Yeah. A film which this film gets a lot of ideas from.
Yeah. No, to be fair, like in terms of its aesthetic,
like
good guy back.
They dress McLeod and Kyle Reese dress the same.
Yeah, they got the same
Same trench coat.
Cream.
Early
trench
on,
coat.
they're both accused of a crime they technically did commit, but they can't really prove it on them. They're both people who've come from different times and into the future. They're both trying to protect a woman.
Yep.
They're in different ways, but they're trying to protect a woman. The quickening special effects looks a lot like Kyle Reese appearing from the future.
Yeah, but I think that's a thing of the time. I think that's
it definitely is. But I'm just saying they are very similar. There is a lot of ideas.
No, yeah, I think there's I think right.
If the Terminator wasn't made, I don't think this film would be made. In this way, it wouldn't be the same as it is now. They definitely took ideas from the Terminator and made it into this.
All right, I'll give you that.
If Highlander would exist, but it wouldn't be the same film.
No, okay. You're upsetting me, but I'll accept it without arguing with you. Right. Fair enough.
So what we're talking about? Yeah, him and his daughter. Because we eventually, one thing I do like is they introduce a Highlander. They don't really give him much character, but they introduce a Highlander. I'm calling them Highlanders.
Yeah, no, they're not.
They're an immortal who he's like friends with.
Yeah. The black guy on the bridge.
Yeah, because they meet him on the bridge, and he pulls out nothing. No, he pulls out a flask, and he pulls out. They pull out a flask and pulls out nothing. He's like,
he's meant to bring out a sword, and he goes like to hug him, and he goes, hey, and he goes, and then he pulls out the flask, and he goes, ah.
And I do I appreciate the fact
that
because they can't all want to kill each other.
No.
And I do like the idea that there are some mortals that are just like, no, we're just friends. I don't want to kill you.
But again, I feel like in my head there was this order to things. There's an order to who's a good guy and a bad guy, regardless of the quickening. That it would always be them two. Like I feel like the reason why Sean Connery's character is training it. Like, do you know what I mean? There's this element of destiny. There's element of this is how things will go, but yet it's not said to you in the same way that in like. It's just not clearly clearly defined. So we're able to have this humanistic story where, okay, ostensibly, any of the immortals should fight any of the immortals, and should have Sean Connery's character tried to kill MacLeod when he didn't know how to train himself. But there's a reason for that. He wasn't destined to do it. But I don't know about that element of destiny and or the force, if you like, that governs these immortals.
Well, there's the one weird thing about the scene is after this they kind of go to like a comedy scene where MacLeod's dueling a guy.
Yeah.
And he keeps on stabbing MacLeod.
Yeah, no, that's one of my favourite scenes.
And he keeps on getting up, and it's like it goes on for like a minute and a half.
Yeah, it's fucking brilliant.
What does this add to the story?
Because it's all about like the richness of the journey of the character. So like,
yeah, but it's just him. It's just him shit faced getting stabbed.
Yeah.
And a very clear gay stereotype.
That's one of my favourite.
I didn't like that scene. I thought it was pretty needless. If it was him and the guy.
Yeah.
Getting shit faced and
the
like
guy keeps
stabbing each other.
Yeah.
I'd have been, that's fine. Because it's about him, like, do you remember, like, last time we met, and then it cuts to him.
The Renaissance was kind of gay, man, I'm sorry.
I know, but it's like, because it's like him and the guy he meets.
They were quite, like...
Yeah, no, but him and the guy he meets, they talk about, do you remember last time we met, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And that guy isn't in the flashback. If it was just
No, that's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, if it was just those two getting drunk and stabbing each other, thinking it was funny, I'd be like, that's great. Because it's like, look, we're both immortal, this is funny. But it's just then cuts to, like, him constantly getting stabbed. I didn't like that scene.
I can't really tell you why though.
If it was those two, like daring each other to do like dangerous shit,
I'd have had a black guy in a Renaissance scene, and that's what the problem of it is that he goes. Remember that?
But they didn't have to make it. They didn't have to make it Renaissance. They could have just had them in a field, like stabbing each other.
But it's all about that aesthetic because obviously with the Scottish Highland look. That's very Like we can.
Yeah, but they don't have to go to Scotland. It doesn't have to be in England.
No, but that's the point. Is that for a Western audience to be able to go right? I see the 1500s, and then I see, like medieval times, then the Renaissance, then now. Like then, in my mind, I'm able to sort of quantify it in a sense that like I get I've seen fucking Braveheart, and so therefore because I've seen Braveheart, I can watch Highlander and I can get it. Like because I sort of have a sort of sense of the expanse of time, And so that's why I feel like that scene's really important, is because they've got all the bollocks on and all this regalia, and it's all this fancy bullshit, but for the same reason why you don't like it, I went, oh right, I get. Do you know what I mean? Like, I could sort of feel the
it just didn't work for me. I just didn't.
Okay.
I just didn't really think it was that needed, to be honest.
No,
I would have preferred it if it was him and the immortal dude, like, kind of fucking around with immortality.
Okay.
Because they were like talking about, do you remember when you and me were there? And then it cuts to him not being there.
Yeah. It doesn't
like,
make
it didn't
sense.
even. It could have just been like them in like dressed up as cowboys, like shooting each other. I'd been like, oh, they're just kind of like they're just fucking around.
Yeah.
I'd been like, oh, that's fine. But it's like they were like the guy in here. I didn't find that funny, to be honest. But it was like, I would have preferred it if it was they did a different scene with that, if they were both in there.
Yeah.
But next time we do it, we can just leave it on record. It's like you don't have to like.
Well, you're
like,
gonna have to.
am I going on? Yeah, but it's same thing. But
stuff
like,
that you.
if anything, it'll make it easier because I can see a bigger gap.
Okay.
So I'm more likely to see the.
Yeah. I can see the line there. Okay. So that's what you don't like about the comedy scene, Nick. But then we're in that sort of truncated part now where it's the climax. We're running towards this whole moment of them gonna have a row.
Well, my main point, because we meet this other immortal, and then the next scene, if there was a scene where it was like him and Connor, like kind of like talk, like I never really knew why they were friends.
Standoff,
I never saw them being friends. I saw that one scene where they were like, "Hey, it's you and me," but then they should have had a scene with them at a bar, like drinking and talking about, "Oh, do you remember this
kind
guy?"
Of tension where you don't know if they
not even that, like just them talking about like, "Oh, do you remember like Sven?
Yeah.
Oh, he was a cool guy. Shame he died." Stuff like that. Like talking about like, do you remember when we fought in World War One together or something like that? Yeah. Because he's introduced in a scene, and the next scene we see him, he's getting killed by the Kurgan.
Yeah.
So I never really know why these guys are friends.
I suppose so, but I just assume that it adds a layer of.
I would have liked it if it was like two or more guys getting shit faced.
I think like it says to the audience, again, this is the good guy.
I know, but I would have liked just two, like the idea of like two immortal guys getting shit faced, and just talking about old times.
Yeah,
I would have liked that, where they're just going like, "Oh, do you remember when that guy thought he killed you?" And that could have done a thing where it was like where they go back to when him getting stabbed.
Yeah, but
do you remember when that guy dueled you?
Yeah.
Oh, that was, and you kept on thinking, and you kept on getting back up. That would have been fun. It's just like kind of like go from like, here's my friend, and then they cut to a scene. Obviously to showcase their friendship, but then he's not there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
They just had
I
a
agree with you
like 2 minutes in of them getting drunk and be like, "Do you remember this time?" And it would have made it way better. It's just they don't.
Yeah, I mean the Kurgan bit with him getting killed is important because obviously we've got that Vietnam guy, and then he
who just kind of appears and just.
But I quite like that because it gives it this. It reminded me of the HBO Spawn series because. What you have is this spiritual, ephemeral force. You have this unquantifiable force, this life force, this energy, the supernatural, and then you have sheer gunpowder. And so in the HBO Spawn series, I really liked it because it pits this supernatural force against increasingly more.
Modern technology.
Yeah, modern technology. Motherfuckers, like bad motherfuckers. They're gonna fuck you up, and they're the best at what they do. Plus, whatever technology you got, it gets to the point where Cyborg's trying to take him out, and like literally it can't.
It's a natural progression,
and it's so good because I like the sort of the idea of like this energy versus sheer mechanical or technological might, and. He does that very well, you know. He fucking unloads all these he shoots up the Kurgan with a machine gun, and it does fuck all. And then, so the emotional reality of the film comes back to this idea of how people interpret it. And he's like, I put enough lead in him to
kill a rhino.
Kill a rhino, he says. And so it makes it quantifiable. On that level, if you see what I mean, it makes it more visceral for the audience to understand. That's the way that we can engage and understand the world around us in that sense. If there's this commando geezer that would kill any of us in that situation and he can't get close to them, then it sort of feels like it's a level above.
Yeah.
It's got that element, you got the hairs on your neck type thing, you go, oh shit.
Yeah.
And I like that. I know it's tacky, I know it's cheesy, but it is, I think what I'm trying to impress upon you is the way that you can influence an audience through the narrative that they've constructed. I think you are personally too intelligent for...
Bro, I'm like borderline retarded, man.
I know, but still.
When I was a kid, I thought I had Down syndrome. I'm not smart.
Really?
Yeah. Straight up, thought I had Down syndrome. I thought I had Down syndrome.
You're smart enough to think that you've got... Do you think... Oh, that's very controversial. I'm not going to question you about whether or not people with Down syndrome... literally...
Everyone was really nice to me, and I was like, why is everyone being so nice to me? What's wrong with me? Do I have Down syndrome? And it became a big thing.
You're just a nice guy, Nick.
I know, but I thought I thought, why is everyone being so nice?
No, but that's an entirely different
We'll move past this.
We're going to do the Down syndrome podcast for you.
We'll watch Jeff Town.
Yeah. So, hold up.
Well, because the scene after that is okay. Yes. It's them in the church.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's the best.
Which is a
scene.
great scene.
It's a great scene. It's the best. That's the moment. Like, because we know
that's
after that,
the first real meeting between.
Well, they just have a conversation, and it's just so good because the build up is like Sean Connery's character tells Highlander, you know, you can't kill anyone on sacred ground.
Yeah, that is I do like that they give this, like, even though this is super like mythical and like we're immortal, like there are rules we have to follow.
Yeah.
And it's like we can't do it in churches.
No,
we can't
and
do it
I like what I like particularly about that exchange is that the Kurgan is taking the piss. Right?
Yeah, he's mocking all of it, but he follows the rules.
Yeah, he's mocking, but he follows the rules. And then McLeod is like, he grabs him, and then he's like, "You fucking want to go?" And he's so angry with the fact that he finds out his love of his life got, raped her, and also like he just doesn't care. Like, and so the aggression in the scene is like, so the Kurgan's just laughing at him. So he's like in a more relaxed state, right? But he's physically impressive, and I love a quick note. So he after the police moment where they're tracking him, he shaves off all his hair, but he shaves it so bad, and he physically has shaved his hair off. He physically had long hair. He's had to shave it for the role, right? He does it really badly, and then he's stuck all these safety pins in his neck, like just as a punk thing. I just he just looks disgusting.
So punk.
He looks so horrible.
He's so punk rock.
Yeah, and then he's laughing in his face, but McLeod wants to go for him, even though he's in a sacred place. And then we have that brilliant moment at the end of the scene where he just gets up, and his voice is iconic.
Yeah,
it's the same way that
the same way Mr. Krabs.
Mr. Krabs wouldn't be alive, or wouldn't be Mr. Krabs without Highlander, and that's something you have to accept. And so there's this great line where he goes, "I've got something to say. It's better to burn out than to fade away." And I've just been waiting to say that for about an hour.
Proud of you.
Yeah, thank you.
You kept it in there. You kept it in.
I did. I kept it in there. But it's just a chalk and cheese matchup where they're so well defined characters that are just like, I don't know, the dynamic of that when McLeod wants to fucking kill him in the church, and he's like, you can't do that. It poses that right. It's on now, and then up until that point. Also,
a good thing about that is like about the whole rules shit is like it means it's very important. It's like the Kurgan obviously doesn't give a fuck about anything.
No.
But the fact he's willing to abide by the rules.
Well, there's a certain...
we don't, like going like, okay, so this is like a real. It's not like something they're like imposing. They're like, no, this is a serious.
Yeah, it's like they feel it. It's like
even this scumbag, this proper psychopath is like, I'm not going to attack you on like holy ground. I won't do it.
And I like that.
Yeah.
And then it's just this iconic that when he.
And then Conor McLeod starts going on a date to the zoo.
Yeah, and then he goes around the house and she's got the gun in the thing.
Yeah.
And the tape recorder, and then he has to be like,
Because at this point she's found out that like he's just like pretending to be a bunch of series of people.
Yeah, so that's what we've got is the property rights with the house that he owns. Is that she realises that there's been the same person that's assumed the identity of the dead.
Well, they've born and they've like died the day they've been born.
And then the kid, I don't know. I can't remember specifically, but basically, like, he's been re-inheriting the property for like 200-300 years.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's part of the realistic climax of the film. It's like, it doesn't just do an emotional manipulation of the previous loves, like the whole thing through time, being immortal, and the emotional weight of being immortal, but also the physical, like, logistical way that you would manage being that old and not being able to, like, be normal because you couldn't live past the age of 80 or whatever. So therefore it gave it that moment in the film before the climax gives it a grounding that I don't think many other films do. It just has this great grounding and this great emotional resonance because of the sort of factual ways that it goes about sort of dealing with it, and makes it integral to the plot as well. Because what it does is that's the reason why she's like, well, we've got to understand who the fuck this guy is. It's not like she's just seen him fighting swords and had his arm cut off and grown back. Like, it's not bullshit in that way.
She's done the research.
It's in a really kind of realistic, like, by numbers, brick by brick sort of investigation, and that's what grounds the film in order for us to be able, as an audience, to allow this fantastical, like, narrative to take place and to believe in it. And that's why, for me, particularly when I was younger, I watched it the other day and I bawled my eyes out when his wife dies and that whole sense, because I'm a person that loves cathartic cinema. I love that idea of believing in the hero and understanding his tragedy and getting upset and wrapped up by all of that. But yeah, that's why the film works for me. But then we get to the climax. Then we get to the classic swing on a rooftop, big pan. What this film does as well, by the way, is very cool, very good helicopter shots. It uses the helicopter a lot. They were filming.
Oh, they love the helis. They love the helis.
Panning shots, big tracking shots in a helicopter, and we get to this whole "it's go time" with the Kurgan.
Because that entire scene, I would say the film's main weakness is the fight choreography is very
at the end.
The entire film, I wouldn't say there's not a single.
It's too slow.
No, not even slow. I just say it's very basic. I don't watch. I can watch the because I'd say it's very similar to Terminator. Like, I can watch a gun, like when the Terminator's in the club and he's like shooting.
Yeah.
I can feel like not necessarily like there's like a grit to it, but I can see like, oh, this is like good. And then that's just a guy, like, that's just a camera on a guy pretend like shooting, and I can be like, oh, okay, this is like good. But when it's just a guy's like proper, like, I go left, I go right, I go left, I go right, you duck. There's something about it where I'm like, it's so
truncated,
theatre level.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need a certain level of like intensity in my fight choreography, especially for this, because this is like the climax of the film, and it's so like poor. I need more from it.
I do feel like it lets it down. And personally, watching it, I love the scape, the studio that they've set up with the warehouse.
Yeah.
I love the way that they tracked it and the way that the cinematography and the camera work is. But I agree with you. It's all a bit right. This is 3 minutes of just bang, 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 and it's as if they didn't think about the fight sequence. They didn't think about making it interesting enough. Like, there's no moment where the Kurgan beats him down and he's like there on the floor, like with an inch. That's what you need in a visceral fight. He's like to feel like it's gonna come on his like cut his skin, and it's getting so close, and then he fights him off and he's exhausted. There was no sense of exhaustion or exertion or like that he had to come through something. It literally felt like a formula, and that's partly like the things I like about the film, like what I've talked about today, about the way the film's idea of like destiny and this unwritten energy within the film, within those immortals, in order to like this is gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
And I like that as a cathartic audience member. I like it because I want to believe that I could conquer the world and get the girl and all this. That's what, as a young man, you're being sold in terms of the narrative. But it's too formulaic in the sense that it doesn't have enough suspense in that action in the last scene. I will admit that. Although I like it, and I like the Kurgan's like aggression. I think the rape thing is just like it adds a dimension of like, you evil bastard. Like, I've never seen a film that deals with that element of time and deals with that element of like, you know, you've had characters that have murdered their family, but they haven't raped them, and that's kind of deep, man. Like that's pretty brutal. But yeah, I think that it does lack a sense of like proper aggression and like violence. It's not violent enough as an ending. They go bang, 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 and then he goes, there can be only one you, and he gets the awesome sequence, which is really tacky, but also it's kind of cool, but it's also really tacky at the same time. Yeah. The whole ghosts with it's the same. If you haven't seen it, folks, it's the same as like Indiana Jones. When he's like waiting about, or after they open the Holy Grail, isn't it? And they're all flying about and it kills all the Nazis and stuff. That's tacky as fuck because it was done with like.
I don't know. I love that, and I didn't love Highlander.
But it's the same animation.
Yeah, but
taking a piss.
Yeah, but like Highlander's face doesn't melt off.
No, yeah, okay.
I like that is what I love, that whole like face melting and then because that's all stop motion. Like
yeah.
That's just them putting a heat lamp on a model and then
and it just fucking...
But like that's also like that like freaked me out when I was young. Like Highlander wouldn't freak me out.
No, it's the same lame cartoon effect, and I don't like it in Indiana Jones, and I don't like it in Highlander.
I love it.
I think it was. No, but you're talking about the melting of the face. You're not talking about what you like, the ghosts flying around in the
the
sky.
ghosts. No, the ghosts.
Because that's a specific effect that I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I'd say that the end effect I really like, but the end effect of this I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it lets it down massively. But then, we're at the very end of the film, I really like the final sequence because they go right back to the Highlands of Scotland, where they based the start of his story, and they're there having a picnic, and he's talking to Sean Connery in some sort of false space, the afterlife or whatever. But like you can communicate with them.
Yeah.
He explains, I can have kids.
Yeah, someone's like, is he burying them or something?
I can
like,
talk to politicians and diplomats, and I can see what everybody's thinking around the world. And it's quite a hopeful, optimistic ending. He basically does become a god. Like, no,
because now Conor McLeod's mortal.
Yeah,
that is the.
But no. He's not mortal. He has the choice whether or not he wants to be mortal.
I've seen the sequel. He's mortal.
Yeah, but you don't fucking. I don't care. We're not talking about the sequels here, Nick. We're talking about. So, just so you know, folks, I have not seen any of the sequels. I know they're notoriously bad, and that's exactly why I haven't bothered to fucking see them, because I ain't fucking about. But at the same time, Mick saw the sequels before he saw this original masterpiece, and it's tainted.
Strong usage of masterpiece.
Tainted his life. It's tainted his entire life. It's the exact reason why he is the person he is today. And no.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you that. Yeah, that's accurate. That is fairly accurate.
All right. Right. So the end of Highlander is that he's able to do whatever he wants. Right.
So what is? So it's the gift, isn't it? He gets the gift. What does he get at the end? Because Well,
he's with his missus in the Highlands having a fucking nice picnic.
But now he's now he's the last immortal. What is his?
Well, he's
what
able to choose whether or not he wants to live forever or not.
Okay.
He's able to choose whether or not he wants to. He's got a choice. He can do what he wants.
Okay.
But apparently that's all undone. So just so you know, That is our discussion on Highlander, but Nick is about to talk about Highlander sequels, and I'm not happy about this. I don't know anything about the fucking Highlander sequels. I don't care about the Highlander sequels. I know this shit, so I don't, frankly, ruin everything about the original film based on your fucking knowledge of the sequels.
Jason, I've got a question for you.
Go on.
Where do you think a sequel to Highlander should go?
What do you mean?
How would you continue the franchise? What do you think you would do?
Oh. So let's say present day was in the 80s.
Yeah. I'm interested because I want to know how would you continue this story?
I'm genuinely thinking it through, mate.
Would you perhaps make it a prequel and on a different Highlander? No, a different Immortal?
That'd be
in a
quite
different
cool.
part of the world?
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be
or maybe
with the black guy on the bridge.
Yeah, what was he doing?
What's his story?
Maybe you could see what was Connor doing before he got to the present. What was he doing?
Yeah.
Do you know what they did do? Fucking aliens.
Aliens?
They're aliens.
Who are aliens?
The Immortals
are
not. Aliens.
No, they're not, mate.
They're aliens. They're from the planet Zeist. So basically, it turned out...
I knew you were going to ruin my day.
Highlanders come from a different planet. They come from a different planet.
They don't.
They come from a different goddamn planet. It's set in the future. And
how far in the future?
It's like further than
2100.
It's like 20. It's like Conor McLeod's like in his 80s or something.
How is he? What? So he's old now.
He's chosen mortality.
Right.
And he's aging normally, and now he's like in his 70s or something.
Right.
And an alien on the planet Zeist, because they're immortal, when they get sent down to Earth, they become immortal. Right. He beat McLeod and sent him to Earth as a punishment. Like that's what happened when you if you're a bad alien, you get sent to Earth.
Oh right.
Where you're immortal. Exactly.
Immortals, right.
So he, for some reason, he's like, what if Conor McLeod comes back to Zeist? Even though he has no memory of the planet Zeist. So he sends two of his guys to go kill Conor. Conor kills one of them, giving him his youth back and making him immortal again, which
classic.
Also gives him a reason to go and kill this guy on the planet. He then kills the other one.
How do they even explain this?
They barely fucking explain.
Right,
it's all.
okay,
That's why it's a shit film. He then kills the other guy, which resurrects Sean Connery.
What? I've got to go.
He's in the sequel.
No, he's not.
And then it's about him trying to go back to his home planet. Right. It's like Poochie. Like now, Poochie died going back to his home planet in The Simpsons.
Right.
It's all about Conor McLeod trying to get back to his home planet, and it's awful.
What,
and
is
I
the
watched
woman
it.
in it?
No.
What? So she's not mentioned.
No, like he's like part of this like
Chilling.
fucking biochemical company where he's like making cures for diseases.
Right.
Like this film is dreadful.
I've got to see this film.
It's honestly awful. I've never seen. Also, the thing is, like, the first one was a bomb.
Yeah.
It lost money, and then they decided to give. It's the same director as well, so it's not like they gave it to some random dude.
Yeah, that's not.
They gave him double the budget, and this was his idea for the sequel. It was like, listen, let's send it to space.
Let's just.
This film was awful.
Yeah.
The third one was also bad. It had, I think it had Mario Van Peebles or something. It was like Kane. It was again awful. I didn't watch that thing. But the fourth one, the fourth film had my personal boy, Donnie Yen.
Right.
What do you think Donnie Yen does? You know Donnie Yen, right? Donnie Yen, Ip Man.
Ip Man, yeah.
What do you think he does?
Kick stuff.
Do you think he's like the main bad guy?
He probably should be.
Yeah, he's fucking not. He's the bad guy's henchman. He gets killed like halfway through by some fucking old dude who looks
anyone
so
who
out
knows Ip Man, anyone who knows Don Yen, like, he's a fucking martial arts expert. Like, he's a gangster.
The fourth film begins with like the main bad guy. It turned out he was like a friend of McLeod when he was a kid, and then someone betrayed someone or some bullshit.
Terrible.
And he's like, I'm gonna get a revenge of McLeod.
Are they still aliens at this point?
No, I think after the third one they were like the alien shit was weird. So they kind of like the sequel they stopped. They were like, no, that's dumb. The third one was a direct sequel to the first one, I think.
Right.
I didn't watch it.
It's very complicated.
It's needlessly complicated.
Yeah.
But the fourth film, they a bunch of immortal guys are like, we're gonna just be medically induced into a coma in a church because you can't kill us. But this guy's like,
what?
Guess what? I don't care about the rules. I'll kill you in the church. And if the Kurgan isn't going to kill people in the church...
some sort of consequence.
And there's nothing.
Really?
These films are awful. Dame Dash is in the 4th film.
Who's that?
He found Rockefeller with Jay-Z.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And he gets killed by some guy.
He did something good for...
shout out to Dame Dash.
For whatever... I mean, this is... I'm
a big fan of Dame Dash. But yeah, like, listen, like...
I'm depressed.
My entire, like... Because I don't know how I watched these films before. I think they were on, like...
Yeah, why?
They were on TV.
How do you know about this?
I think because I knew about Highlander. And I knew it was good.
You never watched it?
No, I never watched it, but I knew it was good. And it was on, like...
Not only ruined your experience of Highlander, but you've now ruined mine.
I think it was like Film 4 or Sky Films. It was one of those films where it's like, oh, Highlander 2's on.
The Highlander
I've heard the first
trilogy.
film's really good. I watched the second one, like...
Right.
I was young, so...
I'm going to have to watch the second one now. Because I'm obsessed with the idea that it's that bad.
You shouldn't watch a sequel if you haven't seen it. But I was like, oh, fuck, I'll turn it on, I don't care. And I was just like, what the fuck is this? It's awful.
Bad.
It is one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life.
Wow. I mean, you kind of blow me away with that.
I know, right? It's awful.
You told me earlier, like, before we did this podcast, you told me, I'm going to tell you how bad these films are, and you're not going to be able to handle it. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And now I'm genuinely
pissed off. Can you handle it?
I'm genuinely pissed off.
Can you handle it?
I can handle it.
Can you?
But I'm not happy about it.
You can't handle it. You can't handle how bad these films are.
I'm handling it fine. Thank you.
The tears are streaming from your eyes. There's a forced smile.
Yeah. No, it's cool. I knew they did. This isn't why I've seen. This is why I haven't seen them. Is that I've literally cut them out of my life. Like, I don't want to know.
But do you know the worst part of this is like?
Go on.
This is like we've talked about remakes and their films you shouldn't remake.
Yeah.
This is a film where really you could have an unlimited amount of sequels because you just have like an immortal guy in this particular time.
Chinese guy
and
African guy.
It's like it would be
good.
You can make a story of anything. Like, oh, it's an immortal guy against the accuser.
This is it. It's a universal story, but the way that you could culturally kind of change the narrative in order to go like ancient China, like all of these fucking things, like through human history. It's what annoys me about recent like franchises is that we've talked previously about the new Matrix film, and the reason why they've done that is because Warner Brothers went, you made $1.6 billion on the Matrix trilogy. Can you please make another one? Because we'd like to make some money. And they need to bank stuff that people have already known from before. So it's all about... That's why Jurassic World is being made after Jurassic Park. That's the way that Hollywood works. And for me, why the fuck have they not looked at Highlander and gone, fuck all the sequels? Let's take the ideas of what the first film was about. Right? Let's. I think Netflix fucking epic.
I do feel like this could be.
This could be like the next Game of Thrones.
I feel like this could be like a solid like The Witcher. Like one season, like 7 episodes of just like an immortal
and
dude.
Bosh it out, Each episode 50-50 modern.
Well, here's the thing. My idea for a TV show or a film series was. So you've watched X-Men First Class?
Yeah.
I could watch an entire film about Magneto hunting Nazis, and I'd love it.
Yeah.
And they've even made a show about a bunch of Jewish people hunting Nazis. It's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, it's on Amazon Prime.
I've always wanted to watch Magneto hunting Nazis. I'd love that. So if you're going to be like, oh, here's an immortal guy in World War II, or like an immortal spy in the court, I would watch the fuck out of that.
Yeah, it's about making sub-stories, not just the, like, for instance, all they use Magneto for is the ultimate... mutants versus humans, like the actual X-Men main plot. But I'd like to see franchises, movies and TV shows that focus on the subplot of compartmentalizing, like 21-year-old fucking Magneto that's going after Nazis and doing that thing.
I would watch the fuck out of Magneto.
That'd be awesome.
Nazis. I'd love that.
And likewise, Highlander could have that kind.
It wouldn't even need to be Connor. It could just be some random dude.
Exactly. It could be someone, a second tier kind of story where we can have that freedom to look into the franchise or look into the elements of you can touch upon those things that make that franchise great without having to go, it has to be the ultimate fight.
Yeah. Small stories. That's all you need.
I'm down with that, Nick.
Yeah. It's like Star Wars. Like, my favourite Star Wars stuff is like, I don't like Jedis. Just give me like Rogue One.
Yeah.
I like Rogue One.
Yeah.
I like Solo. Just give me like small stories about like a crew of rebels fighting this thing, because the backstory is interesting. I just don't like Jedis. They're boring.
Yeah.
Give me small scale stories, because eventually it's like I'm gonna get bored of like, we've got to save the universe.
Yeah.
Like the
it's
Avengers.
the same story over.
Like the Avengers. Like, first film they did, they were like, okay, we've got to save the Earth. Next film, we've got to save the Earth. Then it was like, we've got to save the universe. Where do you go on from there?
Yeah.
It's going to get to the point where I'm like,
you've made it so
you've
big
saved
that you can't.
You've saved the universe so many times. That's why it's like every now and then, like they go lower, and I'm like, I like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate.
Well, it's like Ant-Man became like, oh, it's a small heist film.
Precisely.
Like, cool.
Yeah.
Like that.
No, I agree with you. I think that if they could reboot Highlander and do it in a way that would make...
I guarantee in the next few years there's going to be a Highlander. Like,
you reckon?
Yeah, 100%.
In 5 years?
5 years. I can see that.
I'll make that bet with you. I reckon you're right.
Because it's like, it's such a quasi well-known film.
Yeah.
That is so open to interpretation. Just immortal guy in samurai. Boom. You got a film. Easily. You can just... That writes itself. 100%. You don't need to... It's not like going, oh, what can happen? It's like, just put an immortal dude anywhere. It'll work.
Yeah, it will. It essentially, the concept is too strong for it not to be rebooted. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Is that it will be done based on the way Hollywood approaches things. That's why they pushed the creators of The Matrix 2 do Matrix 4, is that they've got a finite amount of intellectual property and they're going to rinse the fuck out whatever the fuck they own. And eventually they're going to turn around and go, why haven't we done this? Let's fucking get on with it. So I'm excited to see if they do reboot it, because I think that given the talent that's out there now, I mean, I've been watching a lot of fantasy stuff on Netflix and there are a lot of good shows, particularly for young adults and stuff like that. I don't know if you know, but some of the creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender, I've seen the Dragon Prince. I quite like that.
I don't know.
It's pretty nerdy. It's pretty fancy. It's pretty for like teenagers. It's not something that a 29-year-old guy should be admitting to watching. But I really like that. I really liked Dark Crystal and everything. And I think they've got the talent and the resources required that they could do a Highlander series on the scale that they did the original film and do it justice. And I'm asking nicely to Netflix executives to please do so. So, cheers.
Yeah. Anything else? Well, I feel like we might be. Are we done?
I think we've covered it.
Done? Alright, is there anything you wanna? We've got a Twitter.
Yeah, we have. We've now got a Twitter page, The Final Cut Half Cut. There's at The Final Cut Half Cut. Pretty sure there's no.
So if you have any abuse, please send it to the.
Please abuse us. I'll be posting this directly to Twitter now, tagging the films and stuff. Pretty apprehensive about it, to be honest, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna put it out there.
Yeah, it's fine. No one knows.
Bosh. Right.
Boom.
Thank you very much, Nicholas.
Thank you for having me.
Absolute legend. This has been The Final Cut Half Cut with me, Jason Winter,
and me, Nick.
Doesn't give his last name out. You can't hunt him down.
I don't want people to know who I am.
Hell no. Right. Highlander.
Gang shit.
Peace.